very high 20s, possibly low 30s towards the south to the high teens, low 20s towards the north. There is still a bit of a breeze, particularly towards some coastal parts. That will take the edge off the heat a little bit. Into the evening, and there's not a huge amount of change, to be honest. There's some low clouds still around those eastern coastal parts of Scotland. Across central and western areas, however, it's a bright, fine end to the day, similar across much of Northern Ireland. Again, still some cloud around those North Sea coastal parts of England, and that cloud is again going to start to push its way a bit further inland through the end of the evening and overnight. Most places, though, sticking with the largely clear skies for a little while yet. But yes, similar to last night, really, that cloud in the east is going to become more widespread, and there's also the potential for a bit of cloud to come into some southwestern parts, Devon and Cornwall, likely to see some cloud at times overnight, but it's going to stay dry. Temperatures holding up for most, so low to mid-teens, high teens in a fair few places, especially towards the south, so feeling pretty warm indeed, still quite uncomfortable for sleeping. Again, we're going to see most of that cloud that pushes in overnight burning away through tomorrow morning, still just lingering towards those eastern coastal parts for some. Otherwise, a bit of cloud here and there, could be quite high-level clouds, so maybe just turning the sunshine a bit hazy at times, but generally it's looking fine, sunny, and with that, temperatures similar to today, so a good chance of getting into the low 30s. See you later.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boilers sponsors the weather on GB News.
Thank you, Britain, for making GB News Radio such a huge success. Whether you're in the car, on the go, or listening at home, thank you for choosing us as your radio station.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. There is a collision on the M60 clockwise at junction 23 in Ashton under Lyne. The M6 northbound between junctions 25 and 26 in Wigan is closed due to an incident. The M62 westbound slip road between junctions 19 and 18 in Manchester has a lane closed. In Scotland, the M9 eastbound between junctions 7 and 6 is queuing after a collision. Across Wales, the M4 eastbound between junctions 26 and 23 from Malpas to Magor has congestion. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast has no trains between Chester and Crewe, with delays between Birmingham New Street and Birmingham International. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get this on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What I'm going to do now, they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me.
What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question.
Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account.
You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me.
The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk then?
No, that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
The fact is Trump made a good start. No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints.
How many fingers have I got up? About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning to you. It's 9:30 on Tuesday, the 14th of July. We are live across the United Kingdom. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bethany Elsey.
Police confirm Anne Widdecombe's killing is being treated as terrorism. Now, the Home Secretary vows to review security measures for politicians.
Always be vigilant to changing threats and respond. Security measures are kept under constant review to ensure MPs can carry out their duties safely.
Well, because of the complex nature of counter-terrorism investigations, detectives will now have up to 14 days to continue questioning this suspect before he either has to be charged or released.
Iran and Russia cannot be allowed to use different proxy organisations to threaten security and safety on Britain's streets.
So Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps have been prescribed as a threat to Britain's national security. Not before time. We will look at what they've been doing here.
We will drill, baby, drill.
Drill, Ed, drill. Miliband looks set to U-turn on North Sea oil as he eyes up the role of Chancellor.
Two-tier water. I can't believe this. Benefit claimants are reportedly going to be allowed to ignore hosepipe bans, unlike the rest of us, during England's heatwave. What's the justification for that?
We're attacking them tonight. We're taking out all of their capability for anything having to do with the Strait, with the Hormuz Strait.
America attacks Iran for the third night in a row.
And there he is, never here, Sir Keir Starmer. He's in Paris this morning, of course he is, to watch the Bastille Day parade. It'll be France's largest military parade since the Second World War, but we'll be revealing why he's coming back to Parliament a bit quick.
And this morning, the taxi charity for military veterans will be taking brave servicemen for a day out at the beach.
Yeah, we're on a grand day out to the seaside with the taxi charity for military veterans who have been doing this event since 1948. We'll be speaking to veterans and organisers throughout the programme.
So to be fair to Starmer, and you might say I'm not always fair, Bethany, he is in France because it is the gathering of the coalition of the willing. These were the states that wanted to back action to support Ukraine, and Britain was a key part of that. Macron is on the way out, of course, because his presidency is coming to an end. Starmer's only got a few days left, but he will then return to England today to be in Westminster in time to get that Hillsborough Bill, which was all those years ago since those football fans, those Liverpool fans were killed, across the line in Parliament. It's been a long time coming. Hillsborough was, 1998. Of course, the architect of the Hillsborough Bill was Andy.
Well, Starmer will be using that to trying to secure his own legacy before he's booted out of number 10. Well, send us your views and what you think about that story and much more by sending your comments to
GBNews.com/your say. But first, here's your 60-second news update with Sam Francis.
Thank you both. Very good morning to you. Just after 9:30, the headlines this hour. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood says that the government will look at what security guidance can be given to politicians, including former MPs. That's after the killing of Anne Widdecombe. Counter-terrorism police are now leading the investigation into the death of the former Conservative minister and later Reform spokeswoman. A 28-year-old man has been arrested. Also this morning, the United States has carried out fresh attacks on Iran just hours after President Donald Trump announced that Washington would reinstate its naval blockade of Iranian ports. Iran, meanwhile, says it's been hitting tankers in the Strait of Hormuz and other targets in Bahrain, a key ally of the US. Here, MPs are set to approve the Hillsborough Law today, which would create a legal duty for public officials to tell the truth in inquiries and investigations. The legislation had been long delayed because of disagreements about how far it requires bodies such as MI5 to comply. The care regulator says more than a third of adult social care providers in local authorities in England are rated as needing improvement. The watchdog says people face very different experiences depending on where they live, with long waits and safeguarding weaknesses in some areas. Chancellor Rachel Reeves is expected to say that Britain's economy has beaten the odds in what's likely to be her final Mansion House speech in that role. She will argue the UK must maintain market credibility as Andy Burnham prepares to form the next government. And British troops will stand shoulder to shoulder with French forces today in the Bastille Day parade in Paris. Soldiers from the Grenadier Guards will march through the French capital, whilst Keir Starmer is also there visiting from other leaders from the coalition of the willing. Those are the latest headlines for now. Now it's back to Andrew and Bethany.
Tune in to GB News Radio wherever you are. Online, on DAB digital radio, on TuneIn, on Radio Player, on Nation Player and on your smart speaker. Just say, play GB News.
Sam, thank you for that. Hello and welcome. This is Britain's Newsroom, live across the UK on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Bethany Elsey.
I said earlier, of course, that Hillsborough tragedy was 1998. Of course, it was 1989, which just shows how long people have been waiting for justice. Now, so apologies for that. Counter-terrorism police are now leading the investigation into the death of Anne Widdecombe after new information and evidence came out. This is, of course, after the police told us to stop speculating about it. What's it got to do with them? And also to say there was no evidence it was her political views or any terrorism at all. For days, that's what they were telling us.
Yeah, well, they've changed their tune now, and a 28-year-old white British man was rearrested on suspicion of the commission, preparation or instigation of acts of terrorism.
This is what the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, told the Commons yesterday.
I recognise the particular concern that the Reform Party will feel today, and of course Nigel Farage, the party's leader. I'm happy to offer a meeting for Mr Farage with the chair of RAVIC, the independent body within the Home Office that manages the security of those in public life. And I will also be looking at what security guidance can be provided to former members of Parliament, which I hope to work with you on, Mr Speaker, as well as those who serve a party outside of this place.
Well, are British politicians safe in this country, Andrew?
Well, we've lost 3 MPs in 10 years. Jo Cox in 2016 during the referendum, David Amess, who I knew very well, 2022, who was incidentally a very, very close friend of Anne Widdecombe. And she was godmother to one of his 5 children. And Anne and I often talked about the death of David, the senselessness of it, how awful it was. Whoever would have thought we'd now be talking about the senseless, brutal murder of Anne Widdecombe, a 78-year-old woman who lived alone with her cat.
It is senseless. There's not really any other word for it. And of course, now the Home Secretary is looking at security for politicians, but it does raise the question why this didn't happen sooner.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, are politicians safe? What should we do to make them safer? We've got Tom Pursglove with us, who is a former Tory MP and was a Home Office Minister. And, of course, you knew Widders quite well, Tom, too, didn't you?
Yeah, I mean, rather like you've just said, it's unbelievable, isn't it? Senseless attack on a 78-year-old woman, and it's just really difficult to put it into words, isn't it? It's just unbelievable that she's gone, and she was a remarkable figure. Yeah. But she was also someone, I think, who set the standard in politics in terms of being able to debate and to disagree, but to do so agreeably. And I think that there's a big lesson in that a lot of people in public life could learn. And I hope that as part of her legacy, which is an enormous legacy that straddles so many different things, I hope that it has a positive effect on the way that we go about our debate in future.
How do we make our MPs safer without making them then inaccessible to the public?
That is always the really difficult balance that you've got to grapple with in an open democracy. You know, you need your politicians to be visible, to be proactive, to be available to their constituents, but also to be able to go and express opinions without fear or favour, without threats, without intimidation. But you've also got to keep people safe. And the fact that I can say that I know 3 people who've been murdered, like, in a way, I just can't believe that those words are crossing my lips. And the thing that unites all of those 3 people is that they were all active in politics. They were all conviction politicians, I would argue, who stood up for what they believed, slightly different variations in terms of what they believed in, but fundamentally were people who spoke their mind, I feel went about their business in politics in a way that was exemplary and really did set the standard in terms of, you know, supporting other people to get involved in politics, expressing those views, but doing it in a way that was really respectable. But we've got to balance all of that open democracy consideration with keeping people safe, not least because one of the things that worries me about this most is that you've got families there without loved ones, but it's also got a huge chilling effect in terms of other good people when they're considering coming into public life.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you about that. I mean, this is such a horrific event. And as you mentioned, the murders of two of the politicians earlier. Young people, like grassroots politics and young people in university or even younger than that, thinking about getting into politics. I mean, what kind of precedent does it set for them?
It's terrible. And, you know, I'm someone who's always tried to encourage other promising people on the right to go down the political route. I feel hugely lucky to have had the opportunity to be in the House of Commons, to serve in government, to try and make a difference, and hope that I was able to in a range of ways over the years, both at local level and nationally. And we need another generation to do that. We need people to pick up that baton and move the country forward. And I think a lot of that involves taking the temperature down. I think there's a need for politicians to call this stuff out, because sometimes there's a bit of a risk that people call it out when it relates to people that they agree with, less so when it's people that they disagree with. We've just got to take a completely straightforward approach to this. This behaviour that we're seeing is completely unacceptable. It is detrimental to our democracy, and it is stopping good people who could offer an awful lot to our country in future from a wide range of backgrounds, from a wide range of professions, from doing that. Because just look at it and think, why, oh why, would I want to bring into my life all of those threats, all of that abuse? And they look at what happened to Joe Cox, they look at what happened to David Amos, and they look at what has happened to Anne, and you know, we mustn't speculate, but ultimately they look at that and they say the risks towards politicians are just totally unacceptable.
How much has social media changed this? The cesspool, the cesspit that social media often is. I know, just anecdotally, some of the terrible things people say about me, I couldn't care less. Don't read it. But some people with very dark minds, as we know, are spending a lot of time on the dark net, and we know the levels of abuse that MPs are getting on social media is off the scale now. Diane Abbott, for instance, more abuse probably than most of Parliament put together.
Totally, and
you know, Britain's first woman black MP, an historic figure.
Yeah, exactly. And whatever you think of Diane's opinions, she's a trailblazer.
She is.
Again, I would argue she's someone who says what she believes.
Yeah.
And I really rather admire that about her. And as you say, those forces that we see at work are dark forces. They are corrosive to our democracy. They do put people at risk. And not least because people need to weigh the words that they use. What is unacceptable offline is equally unacceptable online. People need to be really mindful of what they say, the consequences that those words have, the fact that in certain circumstances those words are weaponised and used and actually incite certain people perhaps to behave in a way that they might not otherwise behave. I just think that ultimately people in frontline politics do need to be a bit kinder to one another. You can have robust debates on the issues. Let's pull each other apart on the detail, but let's come together. I think government needs to put some more resource in behind this. Clearly, candidates, there needs to be a proper sort of understanding of the threats and the risks that they face. Perhaps people who've served in Parliament before. Those different cohorts, they will take a kind of evidence-based approach to that. But resource should not be a barrier to keeping people in public life safe. You know, a lot has been said about the situation with Nigel. I've been at events where I've seen issues arise in relation to Nigel's security. Completely unacceptable, and it must be called out for what it is. It is an attack on our democracy when people go about behaving in this way. It is an effort to try and silence people that they don't agree with. It's completely corrosive and it's got to stop.
All right, Tom, that's Tom Pursglove, the former Conservative MP. We're going to go straight now to Mark White, who's our Home Security Editor, who's down in Hayter at Anne Widdecombe's home. Mark, what's the latest there? Good morning.
Well, good morning to you, Andrew. Of course, it was not long after your programme finished yesterday that we got that startling news through about the turn of events in this inquiry, and it was a surprise because we had been led to believe by Devon and Cornwall Police that there was no evidence of a terrorist link to the ongoing investigation, and that probably was true for the most part of the time that they were pushing out their statements from Devon and Cornwall Police. But it's clear they have now come across new strands of evidence. The Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood said as much in the comments yesterday that some significant new lines of inquiry are currently being pursued, and that's why counter-terrorism police from Counter-Terrorism Southeast have taken over the investigation with the expertise that they have to mind. It is their belief that the murder of Anne Widdecombe a week ago, well, last Wednesday lunchtime, it's believed that she died, was an act of terrorism, and that is what they are pursuing in the ongoing investigation. Quite what the pieces of evidence are, we're not privy to this stage, but it may have been evidence that was gleaned in searches or from mobile phone or computer data. All those kind of online searches of associates and contacts as well, Andrew and Bethany, are the kind of things that over a more protracted time counter-terrorism police will be able to eke out. It's a complex investigation. That's why, as a counter-terrorism investigation as it is now, those detectives will have longer. It's 14 days that they now have, at which point they either have to charge or release the suspect.
OK, Mark White, thank you so much for that. We'll be hearing from Mark throughout the day. Now, still ahead.
Never Hear Sir Keir Starmer is in Paris this morning to watch the Bastille Day parade. It'll be France's largest military parade since the Second World War. But
up next?
Up next, the taxi charity for military veterans will be taking brave servicemen for a day out at the beach. We'll hear from them in just a moment. But first, here's the European forecast.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst we've been talking about heat across the UK for a while, we've been talking about heat across parts of Europe for even longer, and the exceptionally hot spell does look set to continue. It's more across parts of France, but also pushing into eastern Spain, where we're seeing the very high temperatures compared to average. But even further south, well, here it is pretty hot, and temperatures for parts of Italy getting into the high 30s or low 40s. With all that, lots of sunshine, but do watch out for a bit of showery rain. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The completion of the challenge, the Princess of Wales was met by her family, including the Prince of Wales and her 3 children.
Lovely. All right, let's talk to former Royal Butler Grant Harold. Grant, honestly, that little video there just seemed to say it all to me, because it was clearly all just off the cuff, not a prepared speech. She just came across as someone who really cares about what she does.
She does, and I mean, she's remarkable because, as you said, it was just suddenly announced last night that she'd done this, and not that I'm a huge expert in this, but it's quite a challenge. I actually know somebody that did it recently. I mean, I think you've got to walk about 23, 24 miles. You're climbing about up to, is it 9,000 feet? You're travelling over 500 miles. It's 3 highest peaks in the UK, Scotland, England, and Wales. I mean, it's a remarkable achievement.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
In his 23 years of service, Alan was deployed to a number of conflicts, including the Gulf War. He met his wife Tracy Ann when he returned to civilian life, and Alan is proud of his time in the forces.
The actual Gulf War
It was during the Scud missile sort of crisis, if you like. And I found that quite worrying because it was so random. If somebody points a rifle at you and intends to kill you, that's one thing. But these missiles were just fired into nowhere. One of the camps got hit. A lot of US servicemen got killed. And RAF regiment fellas went in to help. And the effects of war are clearly not nice. But if it was done for the right reasons, it had to be done.
GB News, the People's Channel. This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
No, Cameron, so he's the first monarch ever to do this, then, isn't he? What's your take on what we've seen in the data here?
Well, Patrick, for GB News audiences, I spent 5 hours in financial briefings with all of these documents, so you don't have to go through them all, and we've assimilated them with my producer, Tom, this afternoon and evening for you. As you said, Patrick, at the start of your piece there, I think a lot of our audience are probably going to be wondering why £370 million, roughly, of their money is being spent on resurfacing a building, Buckingham Palace, which no monarch is unlikely to ever live in ever again. The money that the king surrenders the profits of from the Crown Estates to the Treasury in exchange for a percentage to fund the official duties, that percentage for almost a decade has been much higher.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. It's 10 to 10. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News. Now, each year, the Taxi Charity for Military Veterans dedicates a day for London licensed cab drivers to bring veterans on a day out to the coast.
Well, today 50 cabs are taking veterans in London and the home counties to Worthing. What a lovely place to go for fish and chips and entertainment in the Pavilion Theatre.
On GB News' national reporter Jack Carson joins us live from South Holmwood. Jack, it's such a brilliant story, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, this has been going since 1948, and if you just look around us already at how busy it's getting with loads of veterans and taxi drivers and all those involved in today's event coming for some early morning refreshments before we head down to the seaside for that fish and chip lunch. But I want to introduce you to a very special lady, Betty Withers, who, believe it or not, is 102 years old. Betty, thank you for speaking to us. Can I ask you what today means to you and being here amongst your fellow friends and going down to the coast?
Well, it's a wonderful experience. This is the first time I've ever been to one of these here, and I'm hoping that I meet up with perhaps one or two of the other World War II veterans.
Tell us a little bit about your service. You were in the Wrens.
I was in the Women's Royal Naval Service. I volunteered at 17 and a half, because if you volunteered, you could choose where you went. If you left it until you were called up, they could put you in the Army, the Air Force, the Navy, or Land Army. So I was called up when I was 18, and I was trained as a cook. And I was a cook in the Petty Officer, Chief Petty Officer, and Royal Marine Commando Sergeant's Mess on Hayling Island.
And what was that like? What was your experience?
It was a wonderful experience, and we had some wonderful times together, because you had to make the most of everything, because you never know whether you were going to be there the next day, because bombed Portsmouth and Hayling Island quite a lot.
Now, show us a couple of the photographs that you've brought with us today. Let's have a little look. Here we go. Now, I like this one. So this is you meeting Rod Stewart. What was that like?
That was at the 75th anniversary of the Royal Naval Association held in Portsmouth last year.
Fantastic.
And that was wonderful, because I told him I could remember when he started to sing, and he was lovely.
And show us the other one as well, because you, just a few weeks ago, met General Montgomery's grandson.
General Montgomery's grandson came to see me, and he is doing an article and interviewing all the World War II veterans that are left to get their first-hand stories for future generations.
and it's so special that, you say, you're here with so many other people as well. When you kind of look back on your involvement during the war, how do you look back at that and your service, which ultimately has helped give us the life that we've got today?
Well, I look back because it's something that you have to be in the services to experience it, to know the comradeship. And I was with all the young commandos, and I can remember on this particular day we were asked to cook the meal at 8 o'clock in the evening instead of 6 o'clock. And I looked into the mess and the lads were all talking and laughing, and next day they'd all gone. That was their last. Some of them never even reached the shore, and so I cooked some of the lads their last meal.
Actually. I mean, I suppose that puts into context, doesn't it? Just the brutality of what World War II was.
Yes, it's when I get emotional every time I think of those young lads I saw laughing and talking, and next day they're gone to meet their maker.
But ultimately, you were part of that effort, and so we thank you. You were part of that effort,
yeah.
And so we thank you so much for your service and your efforts. And like you say, there's so many other World War II veterans here today, and today is all about thanking people like you for everything you've done. So thank you very much. Thank you very much for speaking to us this morning, Betty. As you can hear all around us and hearing from the stories of Betty, this is what today is all about. It's about celebrating people like her, those World War II veterans who we know every year are so fewer and fewer of them. Betty, incredibly, 102 years old. It's about celebrating them today. So we're off down to the coast, off down to the seaside, to Worthing, for some fish and chips and for some entertainment. And, well, join us and stay with us throughout the day as we follow them on their journey.
Oh, well, thank you very much for that, Jack. That's a lovely thing. And send our love to that wonderful lady. What a star she was.
Absolute superstar. They gave so much for us, didn't they?
They did. It's that generation. Amazing.
It's only right they get something back.
Yeah.
Little days like this
and
just go a small way.
Isn't it? It's companionship.
Definitely.
And also, they all went through the same. They know it's shared experience.
I mean, it's such a traumatic experience, and yet she talks about it in such a positive way.
Yeah. Still ahead, find out why Red Ed is about to do a screeching U-turn on naughty oil drilling. I think it means he could be our Chancellor. Oh, no! This is Britain's Newsroom.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News each and every week.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. There is a collision on the M6 southbound between junctions 17 and 16 in Cheshire, Newcastle under Lyme, causing delays. In Scotland, the M9 eastbound between junctions 7 and 6 near Kinnaird H is congested following a collision. Across Wales, the M4 eastbound between junctions 26 and 23A from Malpas to Magor is experiencing moderate congestion. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast has no trains between Chester and Crewe, with disruption also between Birmingham New Street and Birmingham International. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
It's the Great British Giveaway Golden Summer Celebration. Your chance to win 2 fantastic prizes. There's an incredible £60,000 in tax-free cash. Plus, you'll also get your hands on a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
At the stroke of midnight, the news doesn't stop, and neither do we.
Day in, day out. Forget stuffy late night TV shows. We're giving you a front row ticket to the centre of the political universe.
Because breaking news doesn't wait for the morning.
And neither do we. Join us for one of the most controversial and volatile times of politics in human history.
A very big story.
Big story over here.
You won't get this anywhere else. The Late Show live at midnight, every night.
Only on GB News.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Dawdley, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Good morning. It's just gone 10 o'clock on Tuesday, the 14th of July. We're live across the UK. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bethany Elsey.
So police have confirmed Anne Widdecombe's killing is being treated as terrorism. Now the Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, vows to review security measures for all politicians.
Always be vigilant to changing threats and respond. Security measures are kept under constant review to ensure MPs can carry out their duties safely.
Never Hear Sir Keir Starmer is in Paris this morning to watch the Bastille Day parade. It'll be France's largest military parade since the Second World War.
And it will include some 500 troops from countries supporting Ukraine, including the Grenadier Guards from the British Army, marching down the Champs-Élysées just one of a handful of times in the last century.
Iran and Russia cannot be allowed to use different proxy organisations to threaten security and safety on Britain's streets.
So Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has finally been prescribed as a threat to Britain's national security. I think most people would say, why did it take so long?
We will drill, baby, drill.
Well, Drill. Ed Miliband looks set to U-turn on North Sea oil as he eyes up the role of Chancellor.
We're attacking them tonight. We're taking out all of their capability for anything having to do with the Strait, with the Hormuz Strait.
So that's America attacking Iran for the third night in succession.
Digital detox delivers. A new study finds teens ditching social media are sleeping longer and stressing less. Well, Andrew, there's another story in the news here that's caught my eye that I just want to let everyone know is coming up because I'm sure none of you are going to be very happy about this. People in Norwich are being urged by their council to remove England flags. Northwich,
yeah.
Apologies. Yeah. To remove their England flags, to tear them down. What is all that about? Why is it wrong to be patriotic?
Isn't that appalling? Just 24 hours before we take on the flipping RGs, fly your flag.
Yeah.
I think they should. If I lived in that area, I would buy 6 flags and put them on every lamppost, everywhere I could, just to say stuff the council. They can't make people take down the flag unless it's a hindrance to or affects traffic and the vision of traffic. So come on, people of Northwich, ignore.
Well, let us know what you think about that by visiting
GBNews.com/you'll say.
But first, here's your news with Sam Francis.
Thank you both. A very good morning to you. Just after 10 o'clock. Well, the top story this hour, Shabana Mahmood says that the government will look at what security guidance can be given to politicians, including former MPs, after the killing of Anne Widdecombe. Counter-terrorism police confirmed yesterday that they are now leading the investigation into the death of the former Conservative minister and later Reform spokeswoman. A 28-year-old man has been arrested as officers continue to examine what they describe as new information and evidence. The Home Secretary, meanwhile, says the case raises serious questions about the safety of people in public life and what further advice can be offered to those who may face risk. Also this morning, the confrontation between Washington and Tehran has escalated yet again overnight, with US strikes on Iran, tanker attacks in the Strait of Hormuz and oil prices climbing again. It comes just hours after Donald Trump announced that Washington would reinstate its naval blockade of Iranian ports. He's also threatening to impose a 20% charge on cargo passing through Hormuz. Meanwhile, Iran's Revolutionary Guard has said it's hit 2 UAE tankers in the Strait and targeted US facilities in Bahrain and Jordan. The United Arab Emirates has called the tanker attack brazen, saying an Indian crew member was killed and 8 others were injured, while oil prices have risen again this morning. Well, let's take you to live pictures in Paris this morning, where Sir Keir Starmer is attending Bastille Day celebrations there, with British troops also marching alongside French forces. Soldiers from the Grenadier Guards will take part in the parade through the capital. The British regiment is paired with France's ceremonial guard under the so-called Bonds of Friendship initiative. The celebrations follow Sir Keir's final Coalition of the Willing summit, where Emmanuel Macron, Volodymyr Zelensky and Friedrich Merz paid tribute to his impact, they said, on the world stage. Here, the care regulator has said more than a third of adult social care provided by local authorities in England are rated as needing improvement. The regulator says 6 in 10 local authorities perform well despite major pressure, but 35% require improvement, 2% are inadequate, and just 3% come in as outstanding. The watchdog says people face very different experiences depending on where they live, including long waits for assessments, services and equipment. It also found systemic weaknesses in safeguarding in some areas and says strong leadership makes the biggest difference to people's care. Rachel Reeves is set to use a major speech today to defend her economic record as Labour is preparing for the transition from Sir Keir Starmer to Andy Burnham. She's expected to tell business leaders that Britain's economy has beaten the odds and the government has restored economic stability. Ms Reeves will also point to faster growth, lower borrowing and rising investment with higher productivity and stronger wages. But the speech comes as official figures are expected to show the economy stagnated again in May, with global turbulence and the Iran war weighing on growth. The Hillsborough Bill returns to the House of Commons today, marking a major milestone for families and campaigners. The legislation follows decades of calls for stronger duties of transparency after the disaster. Government amendments being debated today focus on national security, and they would allow sensitive information to be shared securely with inquiries and investigations, without, though, compromising the UK's security. And just before I go, a story that I'm not sure Andrew Pearce has got anything to do with. Pubs expected to serve more than 64 million no and low alcohol beers this summer. Andrew Pearce not buying a single one of them. That would be an increase of 8 million on last year, according to industry predictions. The British Beer and Pub Association says consumers drank around 200 million no and low alcohol beers last year. And they say that it proves the category has become a defining part of the pub sector. Those are the latest headlines. I'll hand you back now to Britain's Newsroom.
Do you think he's trying to sound an old soak?
I think he should come and join us over here.
The one that low alcohol beer, the alcohol-free Guinness is amazing. It's as nice as a Guinness.
Well, I don't drink, but I don't really like the no alcohol stuff.
Right.
I'm an orange juice and lemonade kind of gal.
Boring. I'm getting out with you.
Anyway, should we get back to the programme?
I think we should.
What time is it? 8 minutes past 10. Welcome. This is Britain's Newsroom. We're live across the UK on GB News. Andrew Pearce and me, Bethany Elsey.
Just say about the Chancellor, by the way, who says she's going to make the speech saying we're doing marvellous. I've just checked. The UK, according to the OECD yesterday, has the fastest rising taxes on workers among the 38 wealthiest nations in the OECD.
Oh, goodness.
With the tax burden projected to reach a post-war record high. You're going to say that in your speech today, Chancellor of the Exchequer? Of course you're not. So we'll say it for you.
We've got Charlie Peters here with us in the studio. We're going live to Paris, where the Bastille Day parade is getting underway. Charlie, these are brilliant pictures. This parade has been happening every year since 1880.
That's right. And this year is different because we're going to see plenty of troops who have been supporting Ukraine. So troops from loads of different nations who have been supporting as part of the coalition of the willing involved today. We've also had Albanian, Australian, Austrian troops as part of that parade, and also soldiers from the Grenadier Guards as well. Sorry, I'm just going to be watching these pictures, so you're going to get a nice shot of me just staring down at you if you keep me in your screen throughout as I continue to watch them marching past. But it has been a very successful parade so far, and I think it does reflect, Bethany and Andrew, the way that this parade has changed from the 10 years that Emmanuel Macron has been in power, his 2 5-year terms. In 2017, when he first came into power, of course, he had Donald Trump next to him, and he wooed the US president with a display with a military band playing Daft Punk's Get Lucky, famously, to try and impress the US president and keep him on side. This year, it's all about European power. So we're going to see plenty of European nations together in that display. The Elysee Palace saying earlier today that the parade will be a powerful symbol of Europe that is becoming aware of how dangerous the world is. And what curious language that is, becoming aware. Hasn't it taken just enough time? 4 years into a land war in Europe. But and perhaps that is part of the reason why Donald Trump and many Americans have felt so justifiably angry towards this continent, no longer being wooed after his threats to Greenland, as many have perceived it on the continent. But he had a point that many European leaders now accept was right, which is that Europe did not rearm in time for that war and has reacted slowly. France, though, we should say, will have almost doubled its defence spending by the time these commitments that Macron has brought in by 2030 are completed. And this military parade is 15% larger than it was last year, which means that it's another record Bastille Day display. We can say that there will also be a significant presence from the British Armed Forces, all 3 wings of the armed services there, including a parade from the Grenadier Guards, who will be part of the French Republican Guard, marching side by side with them. I was saying earlier on our breakfast programme that I think perhaps one of the reasons why the British haven't been so involved in the Bastille Day march past is we are better at this than everyone else. And so having the Grenadier Guards marching alongside you can perhaps show you up at your own day of national celebration. But we'll also have a couple of cadets from Dartmouth College for the Royal Navy. They'll be there for the military academy. There is an exchange programme between the Royal Navy and the French Navy, of course. And there will be a fly past, plenty of military aircraft taking part in that, including Atlas A400, the heavy lift aircraft that are used throughout European armed forces, particularly by the Royal Air Force, and also by the French too. We saw an Atlas do a fly past at Armed Forces Day in Aldershot recently. It's becoming an item they like to show off because of how manoeuvrable it is, despite its large size. So, yes, the Europeans, they are rearming. They are putting on this display, which includes also some Ukrainian soldiers who took a salute earlier today. But the bottom line is, Andrew and Bethany, despite all this pageantry and this display, European armament is still hampered by our lack of industry. And a lot of critics of European defence and security will say that all too often, countries involved in preparing for the next war, or indeed the current war, are focusing too much on welfarism and environmentalism than they are on getting real on defence. France, they are increasing their spending, as we've said. A lot of other countries, they're not doing the same. And there he is, Volodymyr Zelensky, in the centre of your picture with the British Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, to the left, starting his final week of his premiership. His first 2 days of that will be spent in France.
OK, Charlie, that's Charlie Peters. Now, moving on, energy industry leaders and trade union bosses are urging Labour MPs to back North Sea oil and gas. But, of course, the big objector to that has been the Net Zero Secretary, Ed Miliband.
An open letter says support for North Sea oil is about more than oil and gas and signals that Britain still backs production, building and manufacturing.
And now we see on the front page of The Telegraph today, is Ed Miliband doing a screeching U-turn and saying he will give the green light to 2 major new oil fields in the North Sea because he wants to become Chancellor.
Goodness me. Well,
don't make him Chancellor.
It does feel like, where are your convictions, though? If you've hampered this point for so long and then you're going to U-turn.
It would be extraordinary. Would be extraordinary.
Goodness me. Well, Enrique Conejo, a policy director at Offshore Energies UK, joins us now.
Good morning.
If Ed Miliband did U-turn on this, is that a good thing, do you think?
This is a really important moment for the UK, right? And we really need to make sure that the government understands the importance of backing our domestic oil and gas sector, which is absolutely critical for our energy security. It is critical to sustain the many thousands of jobs that support it all around the country. And at the moment, we have policies that are taking us in the wrong direction. We are importing more than 40% of our energy. The less energy we produce at home, the more we have to import. And as you and your viewers clearly have seen over the last few weeks and months, if we rely on energy from overseas, that makes us more vulnerable and more insecure. We see what's happening in the Middle East, in the Strait of Hormuz. So what we're asking today, the government, with the support from our friends from many other trade associations, from the manufacturing sector, from the chemical industries, is that we need a change. And that change means that government must support our domestic oil production, our domestic oil and gas production. And we need to make sure that that support translates into having projects approved, into making sure that we minimize that import gap, and we support the hundreds of thousands of workers around the country that provide critical livelihoods to people around the country. So what I want to make absolutely clear here as well is that we need to stop this narrative about clean jobs versus dirty jobs. All of these jobs are energy jobs, and all are really important for the UK and for our energy security. What we are asking today does not mean that the government needs to stop deploying renewables. Renewables are really important. We must continue installing renewables. That's absolutely key. But at the same time, it's clear the data shows that we will still need 10 to 15 billion barrels of oil equivalent of oil and gas in the UK between now and 2050. At the moment, we are only on track to produce about 4. With more supportive policies, with a more enabling investment environment, we can produce another 3, which means that we could produce half of our needs of oil and gas for years to come. And
if I could jump in there, Enrique, because the point is there's 2 major licenses that have been held up in legal abeyance. So we've got the Jackdaw gas field, where we would be selling into a global market, but the Jackdaw field off the coast of Aberdeen, that would provide fuel to heat 1.4 million British homes this winter alone. 1.4 million. And yet this government has sat on this licence for 2 years because of Ed Miliband's obsession, I would argue, with net zero. That's got to change.
That's got to change, and that is a perfect example of a project that is ready to come online this winter, provide about 6% of the gas that the UK will need for many years to come. And those resources are there, ready to be developed. Significant amount of investment, billions of pounds have gone into investing in that project, and it's ready to go. And if that project comes online, all of the gas it's going to be producing will come directly into the UK grid, powering our homes, powering our industry, and that is key to reduce the import gap. So the more gas we produce here, the less we have to import.
It also generates hundreds of millions of pounds potentially in tax revenue for the Exchequer.
Absolutely it does. Absolutely it does. And this is one of the key points that we have made to the government, that firstly, there are still significant resources to develop. So, I think a lot of people think that there's nothing else left to develop, to produce in the North Sea. That's wrong. The resources are there. It's not only us as the industry body that say that. Look at the data from the government, the data from the regulator. The resources are there. And of course, the more oil and gas that we produce responsibly, then the more tax we pay. And we have set out to the government that with a change in policy, we could produce an additional 13 billion pounds of tax revenues, which includes payroll tax by sustaining many hundreds of thousands of jobs that we have in the industry, but also additional petroleum tax, because we would invest more, and investing more then leads to paying more tax. So if we do not do this and we just decide to rely on imports, those imports don't bring any of those benefits. Those imports don't pay tax in the UK. Those imports do not support jobs in the UK. And those imports leave us being more vulnerable to depending on others to then bring that critical oil and gas that we need to our homes, to our industries.
OK, Enrique, thank you very much for sharing your expertise with us. That's Enrique Cornejo. He's the Policy Director at Offshore Energies UK. Well, a UK government spokesperson has said oil and gas production will be with us for decades to come, and we will manage existing fields for the entirety of their lifespan, while actively scaling up clean energy industries in the North Sea. Issuing new licences to explore new fields can't give us energy security and won't take a penny off bills.
It'll bring hundreds of millions of pounds into the Exchequer, and we've just seen here 1.4 million British homes would be supplied with gas. What's not to like about that?
I suppose at a time of great uncertainty with the war in Ukraine and, of course, everything with it, which is happening in the Strait of Hormuz with the war between the US and Iran, it would bring greater security.
Of course it would. Energy security
but
on
then
our doorstep.
But then there's so much effort going into clean energy.
Well, they can do both.
And battling climate change.
Do both, I'm afraid. Time for the Rachel's giveaway now. It's your chance to win £60,000 tax-free cash. Ooh, very nice. And that gold bar worth over £5,000. Here's how you do it.
We're celebrating a golden summer, as you could win a totally tax-free £60,000 in cash to spend on anything you like. Imagine all of the fun you could have this year with that. You could spend it on treats, save it for a rainy day, or give you the chance to chill out and relax on the perfect getaway. Plus, we're going to give you a £5,000 gold bar that you could keep, trade, or gift to a loved one and secure their financial future. You really could be enjoying gold and £60,000 cash in our golden summer celebration.
For a chance to win £60,000 in tax-free cash and a real gold bar, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge, or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Still to come, benefit claimants are reportedly allowed to ignore hosepipe bans during England's heat wave.
How does that work? Two-tier water now. We'll be going through that and more with Kevin Maguire and Sarah Vine. There they are. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Do you trust what you're being told? Good, because neither do I.
Those are just facts.
I'm Alex Armstrong, and on my show, we'll expose the spin.
Well, I want to answer that, because you didn't let me last time, because you always speak over me.
The broken promises.
To deny that is denying the truth.
And the hypocrisy.
Needs to
stop.
You think we can allow?
Politics, policy, parliament. Nothing is off limits. No sugarcoating, no fear of offence, just the truth laid bare. Tune in every Saturday and Sunday at 9 p.m. for Alex Armstrong Tonight, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Join me, Nana Akwe, for an informative, interactive news programme with a difference. It's fun.
No, he didn't say that, Dave.
I'm so surprised.
I think there's an element of truth to that.
Join me from 3 p.m. every weekend, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it?
No,
Because the failure is...
You're
the failure is...
deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Welcome back. It's 10:25. This is Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bethany Elsey. And we're joined in the studio by Kevin Maguire, that's the co-host of the Pearce versus Maguire podcast, and Daily Mail columnist Sarah Vine. Thank you both very much for coming in this morning.
Yes, for many years. Yeah. Now, there's a headline on the front of the Telegraph today. I had to read it twice because I thought this can't be true. No hosepipe ban if you're on benefits, if you live under Southern Water and Affinity Water. Sarah Vine, has the world gone completely mad?
Well, it would appear so. I don't understand why is it. I mean, I suppose if you are disabled and you need to have a sort of certain. I mean, I don't really know what context you need to have a hosepipe. This is people who are on benefits. Yes. Well, but I suppose you'd be on benefits if you were disabled.
Come on, you always defend people on benefits.
I don't really understand it.
I've read the story rather than just the headline. And instead of a two-tier system or a two-tap system, you might want to call it, you find out the exemptions. You've got to have 3 kids and you've got to have a disability. All right, and,
well, that could be anything
and
these days.
It doesn't mean if you somehow had a sprinkler or a pond or a pool, you could fill them. And the reason Southern and I've never heard of this this other one, was it Affinity yeah. have gone down this way. They say it's because people who are on what's called water share, which is like the social tariff, it's worth about 325 quid off your water bill. They just say it's administratively simpler. But I agree, everyone should just be treated the same. No matter how much you pay and how you pay, treat the same.
So you just imagine someone's watering their garden and says, oi, there's no, I'm on benefits.
Well,
I'm all right,
also disability is quite a broad term
and if you're on personal independence payments,
yes.
does that count? Because a lot of people who earn very big money are on
there's only about 300,000 plus people, if this story is correct and I'm reading it correct. Well, in a country of 67, 68 million is very few. But also some areas, I think quite rightly, have exemptions for people who are disabled or too weak or frail or old to lift a watering can. I get that. Now, how you police it, I don't know.
I have no idea.
You basically rely, I think, on people following the rules.
Snitching this is going to
or snitching, but there's very little snitching. It
might be now.
Hosepipe bans are a sort of annual sport, aren't they?
Yes.
You get very excited about
and when
them.
you consider how much rain we had just a few weeks ago, it never stopped.
I know, but
it never stopped.
But they are.
Andrew, it's the wrong type of rain.
They are a sign of the utter failure of Margaret Thatcher, who privatised the water industry in England.
People on benefits that be treated differently to us.
And instead of investing in the network, they actually took huge amounts of money out of the industry. As you know,
1990.
Privatisation.
Work the Tory Party ever getting rid of a butt.
I don't normally agree with Kevin, but I mean, water privatisation has not been
it's not been a great try.
unmitigated success.
No, it has not. But I still think we can't blame Mrs Thatcher for this story.
No,
she privatised it.
Am I simplifying it too much? The hosepipe ban essentially can't use your hose in the garden to water your garden. So we're not actually treating people differently, we're treating gardens differently.
Yes.
And that seems...
We're discriminating against flowers.
Very good point.
What does that... It doesn't make any sense. It's not like your taps are going to be turned off. It's not like you can't have a shower. You just can't water your plants. Why are people who are on benefits plants more important than those who aren't?
They're not. Yeah. No, I mean, this is why I think they've got it wrong. I think the privatised water companies have got it. Sorry, should I just... The Thatcher privatised water companies have got it wrong.
Your lot have taken a lot of railway companies back into state ownership, and they are no better, Kevin. They are no better. They're still running late, they're still expensive, they're still dirty.
I use Ellen.
It's rubbish.
I use LNER up and down all the time.
Actually
it's very
have...
good.
Can you take back control, please, Beth?
I do have I'll try to. I have a statement from Affinity Water, which I have to read. WaterSure supports customers who have an essential need and need to use more water, such as those with certain medical conditions.
What's that got to do with watering their plants?
And Southern Water have said, rather than introduce a complex process that could create confusion and anxiety among the more vulnerable, we've communicated to everyone on the WaterSure tariff in Hampshire and the Isle of Wight that the current hosepipe restrictions don't apply.
So their geraniums are OK and mine aren't.
Yeah. Guy, what do you thought, Thatcher?
I do white geraniums.
Oh, lovely. Very classy. Very classy white geraniums.
White geraniums, very
comes back to Thatcher.
Yeah, of course you blame Thatcher. You blame Thatcher for everything.
Another story that I think we should talk about in the Times today is the Hillsborough law.
Oh, yeah.
Sarah Vine, this has taken how many decades to try and pass?
1989, isn't it? Yes. Yeah, and it's taken far too long. It's taken far too long. But at least it's happened now.
And this will require local authorities and public bodies to be transparent in their dealings in the way that the police and the local authorities will not.
The thing is, 1989 is another age. So much has changed.
He's going to blame Thatcher for that as well.
He probably will blame Thatcher for that.
Actually, Hillsborough was on her watch and she treated football fans appallingly, and Bernard Ingham was part of the briefing, and the Sun, of course, that infamous The Truth front page, which was lies.
Well, I think that was the police.
But 97 people went to a football match.
Yeah, never came back.
Died, never came back.
Awful.
And if it wasn't for their parents or the supporters and people in Liverpool and around, this would never have happened. And I think it's something...
What this new law will do.
It's a duty of candour.
Yes.
So you have to be open about what your organisation, in this case the police, had done, the South Yorkshire Force, and if you're found to be a part of a cover-up, you commit a crime. Because nobody is being prosecuted. 97 people were found to have been unlawfully killed. Nobody has been successfully prosecuted. 97 people are dead, and nobody went to prison.
One safety officer who worked at Hillsborough was fined £6,000.
Yeah,
but it should also apply to other cases like the post office scandal.
Yes, I agree.
And that and I'm sorry,
infected blood,
which is ongoing.
Infected blood, and also the maternity hospital scandal, and the grooming gang scandal. So all of these things, these are all terrible things that have happened to people that have taken campaigners, local campaigners, and parents, as you say, children off to years and years and years to get justice. And hopefully now that will
what's interesting today,
process.
Kevin, the Prime Minister's in France at the Bastille Day celebrations.
Which Prime Minister now?
This is the current one, But he's going to be back in time for the Hillsborough law to be passed. Is this because he doesn't want Andy Burnham, who started the process, getting the credit? Is this part of his legacy? He was desperate to get it over, or am I being a little uncharitable?
I think a little uncharitable on this.
Well,
and it's something I think most people accept. Keir Starmer got absolutely right. But, of course, there was at the last Labour conference, Margaret Aspinall, one of the campaigners, gave him a seal of approval on this. But Andy Burnham, in a way, started the ball rolling when he was the culture secretary in Gordon Brown's government, and he went to Anfield, Liverpool's ground. And he was jeered. They jeered because the Prime Minister wasn't there, Gordon Brown was there, and he sent Andy Burnham. And Andy Burnham, in order to get the Hillsborough panel, the inquiry, which exposed the truth set up, had to threaten to resign.
Yeah.
And I think that's whatever you think of Andy Burnham, there'll be mixed views.
We can't remember him.
Yeah, that was something worthy of praise.
But the PM's going to get the credit today.
Well, it's
see.
his government.
Kevin Maguire, Sarah Vine, thank you both very much for joining us. Let's get your 60-second news update with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. 10:33, the headlines this hour. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood says that the government will look at what security guidance can be given to politicians, including former MPs after the killing of Anne Widdecombe. Counter-terrorism police are now leading the investigation into the death of the former Conservative minister and later Reform spokeswoman. A 28-year-old man has been arrested. Meanwhile, the United States has carried out fresh attacks on Iran overnight, just hours after President Donald Trump announced that Washington would reinstate its naval blockade of Iranian ports. Iran, meanwhile, says it's been hitting tankers in the Strait of Hormuz and other targets in Bahrain, a key ally of the United States. Here, MPs are set to approve the Hillsborough Law, which could create a legal duty for public officials to tell the truth in inquiries and investigations. The legislation had been delayed because of disagreements about how far it requires bodies such as MI5 to comply. The care regulator says more than a third of adult social care provided by local authorities in England are rated as needing improvement. Watchdog says people face very different experiences depending on where they live, with long waits and safeguarding weaknesses in some areas. Rachel Reeves is expected later to say that Britain's economy has beaten the odds in what's likely to be her final Mansion House speech as Chancellor. She'll argue that the UK must maintain market credibility as Andy Burnham prepares to form the next government. And British troops are standing shoulder to shoulder with French forces today in the Bastille Day parade in Paris. Soldiers from the Grenadier Guards are marching through the French capital, with Sir Keir Starmer also visiting France with other leaders from the Coalition of the Willing. Those are the latest headlines. A full roundup at 11.
Take the GB News family with you on any device. As long as you have an internet connection, tune into GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond.
Sam, thank you very much. Up next, Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has finally been prescribed as a threat to Britain's national security. But who are the IRGC and what have they been doing in Britain?
This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Good morning. It's time for your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. And now it is going to be another mostly sunny and hot day for many of us, even though at the moment there's actually quite a bit of cloud around. That cloud has come in from the east overnight, but it is generally going to break up and burn away as we go through this morning. Just some lingering low cloud towards some North Sea coastal parts. Lots of sunshine then by the afternoon, and in that sunshine, well, it's going to feel pretty hot indeed. Temperatures generally ranging from highs in the very high 20s, possibly low 30s towards the south, to the high teens, low 20s towards the north. There is still a bit of a breeze, particularly towards some coastal parts. That will take the edge off the heat a little bit. Into the evening, and there's not a huge amount of change, to be honest. There's some low clouds still around those eastern coastal parts of Scotland. Across central and western areas, however, it's a bright, fine end to the day, similar across much of Northern Ireland. Again, still some cloud around those North Sea coastal parts of England, and that cloud is again going to start to push its way a bit further inland through the end of the evening and overnight. Most places, though, sticking with the largely clear skies for a little while yet. But yes, similar to last night, really, that cloud in the east is going to become more widespread, and there's also the potential for a bit of cloud to come into some southwestern parts, Devon and Cornwall, likely to see some cloud at times overnight, but it's going to stay dry. Temperatures holding up for most, so low to mid-teens, high teens in a fair few places, especially towards the south, so feeling pretty warm indeed, still quite uncomfortable for sleeping. Again, we're going to see most of that cloud that pushes in overnight burning away through tomorrow morning, still just lingering towards those eastern coastal parts for some. Otherwise, a bit of cloud here and there, could be quite high-level clouds, so maybe just turning the sunshine a bit hazy at times, but generally it's looking fine, sunny, and with that, temperatures similar to today, so a good chance of getting into the low 30s. See you later.
Thank you, Britain, for the thousands of you who are becoming friends of GB News every week.
You're not only watching and listening to our programmes, you're becoming part of them too.
Good morning, this is the latest AI travel news from GBNews.com. There is a collision on the M6 southbound between junctions 17 and 16. The M5 northbound between junctions 17 and 16 in Filton has a lane closure causing slow traffic. The M4 westbound between junctions 4B and 5 in Slough is affected by an obstruction. In Scotland, the M77 southbound off-slip at junction 22 is closed for roadworks. And on the trains, Avanti West Coast has no trains between Chester and Crewe, with disruption between Birmingham New Street and Birmingham International. For more travel news, go to gbnews.com.
Welcome back. It's 22:11. This is Britain's Newsroom.
Well, on 6th of August, join me in Essex for Celebrate Britain. I'll be reporting live throughout the day, meeting viewers, hearing your stories and celebrating Britain together. There'll also be an opportunity to join me at our live event. To find out more, you take part in the conversation and apply for tickets for our event. Scan the QR code now or go to gbnews.com/celebrate. And a good time's going to be had by all.
Brilliant.
There we
Maybe
are.
I'll come along and see you.
Yeah, good.
Okay, then.
Lovely to meet you all.
The government has banned Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and formally designated the group as a threat to national security after months of pressure from security experts and backbench Labour MPs.
What does it all mean? We're going to speak to Lord Walney, who's the former government advisor on political violence and disruption. Lord Walney, can you explain to us, good morning to you, why an organisation that effectively runs the Iranian state is being prescribed in Britain? What have they been doing here, and should we have been very worried?
We should be worried, and this action is welcome. It's long overdue. There's a question of whether the bars on the IRGC are going to be sufficient, but we need to wait and see that. What the Islamic Republican Guard Corps has been operating as is it styles itself as a regular army, but it is not at all. It carries out terrorist operations on behalf of the Iranian regime, which is the chief regime in the world exporting Islamist terrorism around the world, including onto the streets of the UK. And these are its trained operatives to carry out operations. And that can mean a range of things here in the UK. There have been many plots that have been thankfully foiled by our security services in recent years, who work tirelessly to keep us safe. But a number of the attacks that have been carried out on the Jewish community, for example, they had ambulances that were set on fire. Other acts have been, if not carried out by IRGC operatives themselves, they have been part of being able to recruit others to do that. And so many of us have been calling for this group to be banned as a terrorist organisation for many years now. Repeated governments have stalled. And what you've got now is specially crafted legislation, which is designed to be able to put great restrictions on groups that are connected to a state like the IRGC is connected to the Iranian state.
Why if these people are so dangerous, are they even in Britain, Lord Warney? Why don't we just deport them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that is a key question. What has been happening a lot is that you've had Iranians who have been operating under diplomatic cover of the Iranian embassy, people who have diplomatic passports have a great degree of protection in the country that they are in which they are working. But as part of this, many of us have said that there is a very strong case now, given the flagrant way in which Iran is targeting this country with these kind of actions. We should actually be expelling the ambassador and closing down the Iranian embassy here to stop these kind of activities. And the pushback has always been from others in this debate, and it's a view that's been championed historically by diplomats, UK diplomats in the Foreign Office, is that it has been better to keep open a line of communication to the Iranians, and we've been cooperating with the Iranian state over the last couple of decades on a nuclear deal, which was designed to stop them being able to get the nuclear power that they could convert into the potential for a nuclear bomb. I think many of us think that approach has failed, and we did a tougher approach with the Iranian state. And this is one part. It's only one part of that, but it's an important part.
But how important is it? What kind of extra powers do police and the government have if the IRGC is prescribed as a terrorist organisation?
What the government promised was legislation that was equivalent to naming them as a full terrorist organisation. So if you have a prescribed terrorist organisation like Hamas, for example, or in the past the IRA, then it's illegal for anyone to show support for that organisation. It's illegal to be a member of it. It's illegal to promote it. It's illegal to carry out activities on its behalf. Now, we feel that the legislation which has just gone through the House of Commons and the House of Lords within the last couple of weeks, and the legislation is, as you can imagine, not specifically targeting the IRGC, but it's no surprise that the IRGC has been among the first groups that have been brought forward to be designated. Now, that matches the terrorist prescription in many ways, but in some key areas it's weaker. The support, the offence of showing support is weaker. We had a debate over whether you should be prohibited from showing the insignia or the uniforms of a prescribed organisation. We thought that was clearly appropriate. It's what you do for terrorist organisations. The government has decided not to do that. So we are going to have to wait and see, I think, now whether these new powers to ban the IRGC here in the UK is effective. But whatever the fine details of this legislation is, this needs to be part of a wider push to crack down on the way in which the Iranian regime has tried to push its nefarious influence, its extremism, its violent terrorism in the United Kingdom. It's infiltrated charities. There is the Iranian shadow oil trade, which finances a lot of its illicit activities, which is connected in many ways to London. So there is much more to do, and I hope that the new Prime Minister coming in will see that this is a job at best half done rather than a job done and they can move on to something else.
OK, Lord Walney, the former government advisor for political violence and disruption, thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Thanks a lot.
Still ahead, the Bastille Day parade is underway in Paris. It's France's largest military parade since the Second World War.
But first, here's the European forecast.
I forecast a perfect holiday in the sun.
Weather looking good then?
For sure, and no worries about our travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst we've been talking about heat across the UK for a while, we've been talking about heat across parts of Europe for even longer, and the exceptionally hot spell does look set to continue. It's more across parts of France, but also pushing into eastern Spain, where we're seeing the very high temperatures compared to average. But even further south, well, here it is pretty hot, and temperatures for parts of Italy getting into the high 30s or low 40s. With all that, lots of sunshine, but do watch out for a bit of showery rain. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Started event at Madison Square Garden last night. we believe, for about 100 guests. Could that have been a rehearsal dinner?
1,000 guests, even.
Well, no, that's today. 1,000 guests today.
Oh, is it?
Yes, for a much larger event. So could last night have been the rehearsal dinner? Could today be the wedding? That's what everyone's speculating. New York is said to be buzzing. This is America's royal wedding. Let's talk to showbiz journalist Ed Gleave, who joins us now. Morning to you, Ed. What's it like over there stateside? Is it being dubbed this royal wedding?
Yeah, I think for America, that's exactly what it is. And I think added to it is the fact that no one really knows for sure what's happening. I think the sort of speculation is kind of adding to the excitement for fans.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
They don't like Trump, Trump doesn't like them, and they're sort of outdoing him on the 4th of July.
I don't know whether that would have come into their thinking, but I mean, it certainly does, or the evidence is there to suggest so. She has been a vocal Trump critic, and a lot of the people that attended on the guest list aren't exactly, you know, the biggest Trump fans. I'll read out a few names for you now. We've got Bradley Cooper, Greg James, Zoe Kravitz, Ed Sheeran, Ellie Goulding, Hugh Grant, Graham Norton, Ethan Hawke, Jason Sudeikis, Jimmy Fallon, who we know isn't a very big Trump fan, Jessica Chastain, Dakota Johnson, Camila Cabello. These names may not mean a lot to some people, but trust me, they are, at the moment, very popular.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
The Duchess of Sussex, Prince Archie and Princess Lilibet are not going to come to London with Prince Harry tomorrow, despite earlier suggestions that they would join him.
A change of plans apparently causing frustration, with sources claiming senior royals are tired of what they describe as the will they, won't they approach.
Yeah, I think we all are, aren't we? It's still unclear, apparently, whether Meghan and the children will join Harry for the rest of his visit, which is a bit later on in the week. But they're certainly not coming, as so many reporters predicted.
With all the security issues, I mean, the thing is, it's not saying that he doesn't get the security. It's on a case-by-case basis. So it's completely possible that he would get the royal protection that he wants while he's here. It's just not an automatic guarantee, and that's what the fight's about.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. It's 9 minutes to 11. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Counter-terrorism police, as you will know, are leading the investigation into the death of Anne Widdecombe after new information and evidence came to light.
Now, Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary, will be carrying out a review into MP security provisions. Well, we're joined now by GB News Chief Political Correspondent Catherine Forster. Catherine, this really should have been done a long time ago, though, shouldn't it?
Well, there have been now 3 murders, it seems, that have been terrorists, acts of terrorism. Joe Cox, David Amos, and now all the signs are that Anne Widdecombe as well, really horrendous. Shabana Mahmood speaking, the Home Secretary, yesterday in the House of Commons and saying directly to Nigel Farage and Reform MPs that she understands their concerns, in particular, given the fact that Anne Widdecombe was a member of the Reform Party and spokesman for them. She has offered him a meeting with RAVEC, that is the Royal and VIP Executive Committee, an independent body that sits within the Home Office that looks after the security of people at the very highest level in public life. Reports today that Nigel Farage was offered security by the state, but actually turned it down because what he was offered, a bodyguard and a driver, were significantly less than he currently has, and that they didn't think that that was sufficient, which is why he is continuing to pay for it out of his own pocket. I thought it was really striking what Sir Bernard Jenkins, Conservative MP, said in Parliament yesterday. He said that as an MP, you are statistically more likely to have a violent death than if you were a member of our armed forces or a member of the police. Quite shocking, I think, that statistic. So Ian Duncan Smith calling for a crackdown by the social media giants on violent language that we see, the level of vitriol and hatred directed at MPs. Calls across the board to sort of dial down the temperature. But for all the measures that have been taken since Jo Cox and David Amess were murdered, clearly Anne Widdecombe was vulnerable because she was a former MP. She lived in a very rural community. And, we've had this horrendous and incredibly shocking event and the most terrible, terrible end to her life.
Absolutely, Catherine Forster, thank you so much. That's the Chief Political Correspondent on GB News. Still ahead, find out why Energy Secretary Ed Miliband may give North York the green light after all. Thinks it might enable him to become Charles Exchequer. God help us.
This is Britain's Newsroom, Britain's favourite morning show on GB News.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning. It's time for your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. And now it is going to be another mostly sunny and hot day for many of us, even though at the moment there's actually quite a bit of cloud around. That cloud has come in from the east overnight, but it is generally going to break up and burn away as we go through this morning. Just some lingering low cloud towards some North Sea coastal parts. Lots of sunshine then by the afternoon, and in that sunshine, well, it's going to feel pretty hot indeed. Temperatures generally ranging from highs in the very high 20s, possibly low 30s towards the south, to the high teens, low 20s towards the north. There is still a bit of a breeze, particularly towards some coastal parts. That will take the edge off the heat a little bit. Into the evening, and there's not a huge amount of change, to be honest. There's some low clouds still around those eastern coastal parts of Scotland. Across central and western areas, however, it's a bright, fine end to the day, similar across much of Northern Ireland. Again, still some cloud around those North Sea coastal parts of England, and that cloud is again going to start to push its way a bit further inland through the end of the evening and overnight. Most places, though, sticking with the largely clear skies for a little while yet. But yes, similar to last night, really, that cloud in the east is going to become more widespread, and there's also the potential for a bit of cloud to come into some southwestern parts, Devon and Cornwall, likely to see some cloud at times overnight, but it's going to stay dry. Temperatures holding up for most, so low to mid-teens, high teens in a fair few places, especially towards the south, so feeling pretty warm indeed, still quite uncomfortable for sleeping. Again, we're going to see most of that cloud that pushes in overnight burning away through tomorrow morning, still just lingering towards those eastern coastal parts for some. Otherwise, a bit of cloud here and there, could be quite high-level clouds, so maybe just turning the sunshine a bit hazy at times, but generally it's looking fine, sunny, and with that, temperatures similar to today, so a good chance of getting into the low 30s. See you later.
Today, clouds overhead, total zen within. Boxed Solar sponsors the weather on GB News.
We're celebrating a golden summer with a terrific two-part Great British giveaway. First, you could win a sensational £60,000 in tax-free cash. And that's not all, as you'll also win our most precious prize to date, a fine gold bar worth over £5,000. For a chance to win, text GOLD to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text BONUS to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entry start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB22 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 21st of August. This is a network giveaway. Entries will be pulled. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Some people enjoy lazy Sunday mornings, but not me. What's the truth of the matter?
So that's a very live question. Would you support him if he waters down these plans?
Before the spin sets in, I'll be getting to the truth.
This is personal.
No soft questions, no easy answers.
It's one thing if the state has rules in this country. It's another thing whether the police and others actually police them.
Setting the agenda and holding those in power to account. You can't really blame her if the system is set up this way. You will not want to miss it, trust me. The Camilla Tominey Show, Sundays from 9:30, only on GB News.
Bold.
They are under no illusion.
Ray.
Are you a human trafficker?
Boundless. I've had enough of the nonsense, and I'm not afraid to say it.
Don't get us on the BBC.
Every weeknight, I tear through the headlines.
The smell of gasoline. Should we be worried about it?
From Westminster madness to cultural war chaos.
What we're going to do now is they are throwing things out the car as we speak.
Get ready, Britain. Here we go. Patrick Christie tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel. As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
the Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
Because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's Tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong Tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I've been in Westminster for a long time. But I know that though power may be here, its effect on people's lives is across the whole of the country. We may be where rules are made, but it's where they're implemented that matters. Join me, Jacob Rees-Mogg, for forthright and frank discussion on where Britain has come from, where it's going, and where it will end up. That's State of the Nation, Monday to Thursday, 8 to 9 o'clock. Vox Populi, Vox Dei.
Morning, it's 11 o'clock on Tuesday the 14th of July. We are live across the United Kingdom. Britain's Newsroom with Andrew Pearce and Bethany Elsey.
Police confirm Anne Widdecombe's killing is being treated as terrorism. Now, the Home Secretary vows to review security measures for politicians.
Always be vigilant to changing threats and respond. Security measures are kept under constant review to ensure MPs can carry out their duties safely.
We will drill, baby, drill.
Drill, Ed, drill. Ed Miliband looks set to U-turn on whether there should be more North Sea oil exploration. Is this because he wants to be the Chancellor of the Exchequer?
To tap Britain, benefit claimants are reportedly allowed to ignore hosepipe bans during England's heatwave.
And there's a dispute over some of these figures. Oxford scientists debunking the claim that 2,700 people have died in the heat waves, saying no official data backs that up.
Never Hear Sir Keir Starmer is in Paris this morning to watch the Bastille Day parade. It'll be France's largest military parade since the Second World War.
And this morning, our favourite charity, the taxi charity for military veterans, will be taking those servicemen for a day at the beach.
Yeah, we're off on a big day out with the military veterans. We're not going far, actually, from leaving, heading down to Worthing, to the seaside, to celebrate them and their service. This has been going on since 1948. Join us with them on their journey.
Also coming up on the programme, Labour Council Cheshire West is urging residents in Northwich to take down their England flags.
Put more up. Put more up in the run-up to the Argentine match. What an outrage.
It's less than 48 hours to go before we face off Argentina in Atlanta. This seems bizarre. We want people to be patriotic. This is sport. This isn't political. Keep your flags up.
I've got Union flags, Emma. I'm going to bring them in tomorrow and wave them around the studio.
Let us know what you think about that and what else is coming up on the programme by visiting
gbnews.com/you'll save it first. Here's the headlines with Sam Francis.
Thank you both. A very good morning to you just after 11 o'clock. Well, the top story this hour, Shabana Mahmood has said the government will look at what security guidance can be given to politicians, including former MPs. That's after the killing of Anne Widdecombe. Counter-terrorism police confirmed yesterday they are now leading the investigation into the death of the former Conservative minister and later Reform spokeswoman. A 28-year-old man has been arrested as officers continue to examine what they describe as new information and evidence. The Home Secretary says the case has risen the questions about the safety of people in public life and what further advice can be offered to those who may face risk. The confrontation between Washington and Tehran has escalated again overnight, with United States strikes on Iran, tanker attacks in the Strait of Hormuz, and oil prices climbing even further. It comes just hours after Donald Trump announced that Washington would reinstate its naval blockade of Iranian ports. He's also threatening to impose a 20% charge on cargo passing through the Strait of Hormuz. Meanwhile, Iran's Revolutionary Guard says it's hit 2 UAE tankers in the Strait and targeted US facilities in Bahrain and Jordan. The United Arab Emirates has called the tanker attack brazen, saying an Indian crew member was killed and 8 others were injured, while oil prices rose again this morning. In Paris, Sir Keir Starmer is attending Bastille Day celebrations where British troops are marching alongside French forces. Let's take you live now to scenes in the French capital where those soldiers from the Grenadier Guards are taking part in the parade. The British regiment is paired with France's ceremonial guard under the Bonds of Friendship initiative. The celebrations follow Sir Keir's final Coalition of the Willing summit, where Emmanuel Macron, Volodymyr Zelensky and Friedrich Merz paid tribute to what they called his impact on the world stage. Here, the care regulator has said more than a third of adult social care provided by England authorities are rated as needing improvement. The regulator says that 6 in 10 local authorities perform well despite major pressure. But 35% require improvement, 2% are inadequate and just 3% are outstanding. The watchdog says people face very different experiences depending on where they live, including long waits for assessments, for services and equipment. It also found systemic weaknesses in safeguarding in some areas and says that strong leadership makes the biggest difference to people's care. The Hillsborough Bill returns to the House of Commons today, marking a major milestone for families and campaigners. The long-awaited legislation follows decades of calls for stronger duties of transparency after the disaster. Government amendments being debated today focus on national security. It would allow sensitive information to be shared securely with inquiries and investigations, but without compromising the UK's security. Rachel Reeves is set to use a major speech today to defend her economic record as Labour prepares for the transition from Sir Keir Starmer to Andy Burnham. She's expected to tell business leaders that Britain's economy has beaten the odds and the government has restored economic stability. Ms Reeves will also point to faster growth, to lower borrowing, rising investment, higher productivity and also stronger wages. But the speech comes as official figures are expected to show that the economy stagnated again in May, with global turbulence and the Iran war weighing on growth. And pubs are expected to serve more than 64 million no and low alcohol beers this summer. That would be an increase of 8 million on last year, according to industry predictions. The British Beer and Pub Association says consumers drank around 200 million no and low alcohol beers last year. The trade body says the growth proves that the category has become a defining part of the pub sector. Those are the 11 o'clock headlines. More news shortly. Now, though, it's back to Andrew and Bethany.
Sam, thank you very much. Welcome to Britain's Newsroom, live across the UK on GB News with Andrew Pearce and me, Bethany Elsey.
Well, we've got a really significant guest in the studio this morning. Tobias Ellwood is a former Foreign Office Minister and Defence Minister who's written a book with a sinister title, 10 Steps to Prevent World War III. And it explores just how close we may be to that conflict and what it will take to stop it. And he's with us now. I've only just started it. You've had some pretty impressive endorsements. You're not talking about World War III in the sense of we had World War I, World War II. What are you talking about?
Yeah, well, good morning, and thank you for having me. We should make this very clear, that this isn't a repeat of World War II. This is a world at war. We all know our world is feeling more dangerous, more volatile. Where is this all going? Where is this trajectory? And that's the concern that I have. Our world is actually splintering into sort of 2 spheres of competing influence. The China bloc with the One Belt, One Road, many countries signing up to Chinese projects. And then the West, risk-averse, and also itself splintering with America, Donald Trump doing his own thing. And absolutely there are parallels with 1937, when there was no leadership from the West. Countries were aligning and rearming and choosing a different vision as to where the world should go. And in 1937, the country was in denial then, as we are today. And it's reflected in the fact that we will not spend more on defence, because that type of warfare is going to manifest itself not in just battles afar, as we're seeing in the Middle East and indeed in Ukraine, but here directly. We are subject to attacks on a daily basis in the grey zone, cyber attacks, challenging our undersea cables and so forth, causing economic harm and then political discord. That, and then space is another dimension, quantum, AI. There are so many ways that warfare can now be conducted. Holding on to minerals, for example, the weaponization of energy. This is what's coming over the hill. And the government hasn't explained that to the British people. I think if they did, then there'll be more inclination, support to say, absolutely, if you ring-fence it, it keeps us safe, we'll spend more money on defence.
We know we're getting a Prime Minister on Monday called Andy Burnham. I've never heard him utter a word about defence, ever. He may have done. He's going to have a big battle on his hands over benefits and welfare. What does he need to be spending the defence budget on? What sort of warfare are we completely ill-equipped for? Apart from that, we've got no tanks, we've got no inventory. What else has he got to...
So you touch on the conventional aspects of warfare, and we know that we're short in those realms. We couldn't get one of our destroyers to the Mediterranean during the Iran crisis. From an RF perspective, we're also short of aircraft too. But it's also in this new forms of warfare. We don't have the drone capability. We have no air defence over London, let alone Portsmouth. I wager that there will be an attack, some form of proxy attack, using a major drone like a Shahad from a shadow fleet from the English Channel that will hit Portsmouth, hit our naval base there, for example. This is a type of defence that we need to invest in.
And could we stop it?
Not now, no.
In 6 months' time, could we stop that?
We could not. We should have started investing this 3 or 4 years ago when we saw where the world was heading. And this is the point here, that we're on this trajectory. NATO is saying move to 3%, and we're quibbling with going to 2.7% by the end of this Parliament. It isn't so much the money itself, it's what we're doing in these various realms of warfare, working with our allies as well. We're too distracted by domestic politics. And I really stress that the symbiotic relationship between our economy and security, which Andy Burnham needs to understand. He can make all these commitments to welfare, but if our economy is hit in various forms, then there's less money in the Treasury coffers, which means there's less money for all government departments, let alone defence as well. It's a lot cheaper to put money into defence now rather than retrospectively doing it. And I go further than that to say national service. We've got to have that debate about how do we create national resilience, a capability for society to defend itself from the types of attack.
Service, bringing it back?
Absolutely. In the Finnish model, what the Scandinavians are doing, where every one of us has a role to play if something happens, an acute attack or even a natural disaster of some form, we all play a part in making sure our community can survive. If we lost power for 72 hours, no gas, no electricity, no internet, there'd be pandemonium, there'd be looting taking place, there'd be riots and all sorts of things. But not in Scandinavia, not in places like Finland, where they're taught to what to do, to how to respond, to make sure that that resilience is there, protect critical national infrastructure, get the youngsters not signing up for national service in the old sense, the dad's army, but tapping into those cyber skills that they're brilliant at to help to protect our skies and so forth, and our digital spheres too. We have to have a difficult conversation about where the world is going. If we don't, we're going to find out the hard way that something then comes over the hill. And then people will ask questions to say, well, government, why didn't you do more when you knew?
You mentioned there that we're distracted. Why do you think we don't have that same sense of urgency to defend our country as other European countries do?
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because the closer you get to Russia, the more they're spending on defence. Poland is now 5%, I think. And I think it's because governments have not been honest with the general public about what the threats actually are, how dangerously exposed we will be, and the fact that war is heading to us. And so you stick your head in the sand. Of course, you know, we're doing well in the World Cup. Life goes on. It doesn't feel that... the world does feel more dangerous, but we ourselves don't feel that we're in danger. Now, if the government were actually clearer and more honest about exactly the threats that we face, that we're likely to experience in the next 3 or 4 years, absolutely everybody will say, my goodness, let's invest now.
Well, just briefly, because we're on pressure of time, you've been talking this morning about how finally they're going to prescribe the IRGC, the European Republican Guard Corps. Just kick them out, deport them. These people are here to destroy everything this country stands for. Why do we have an ambassador? Why do we have anything to do with them? out.
Yeah, well, I was Middle East Minister for a while. There was a technical reason why you couldn't actually list them, because the listing usually goes to proxy non-state actors, not to do with something that actually is part of the state. So legislation has now changed, which finally means that we can actually then legislate and list the IRGC. Should make it clear, though, that they are now empowered because of the folly of Trump's war in Iran. Another example of how our world has become more dangerous, the absence of strategy. A lot of military might, a lot of the upgrading of armed forces, but not enough strategy or thought leadership, which is usually what Britain brings to the table.
OK, well, the book is called 10 Steps to Prevent World War
13 amp plug. There we are. There it is.
Written by former Defence Minister Tobias Ellwood.
And
Thank you.
I must say, I've started to read it. It's very good. And tell you who's read it from beginning to end. We were at his party the other day, Geoffrey Archer. He said it's sensational.
Thank you. I much appreciate that.
No, did.
I hope it is a book people will read, but most importantly, it will trigger a debate. It's provocative, there's no doubt about it. It's quite punchy, but I do hope people will then take
heed. There's also, can I tell you, there's a hilarious story in there about when Tobias Ellwood met Vladimir Putin, unexpectedly, what you talk to one of the world's most dangerous leaders about, and it involves a British astronaut. All I'm going to tell you. It's a very nice story.
We'll have to bring you back to listen to it. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
Now, each year, the taxi charity for military veterans dedicates a day for London licensed cab drivers to bring veterans on a day out to the coast for some fish and chips. And they're setting off soon. Our national reporter, Jack Carson, is with some military veterans now. Jack, are they all excited for their chippy?
Well, absolutely. Some of the cabs are already on their way. They can't wait to go down to Worthing and get some fish and chips. This has been happening since 1948. It started, I've been told, with 6 cab drivers back in 1948 who wanted to do something for their mates that had served in World War II, those that obviously come back, those may be injured. Starting initially at Brighton, and now Worthing has been the location. And it's 50 cabs that we've got this year, taking down tens and tens of veterans. And Norman and Cheryl are 2 of those that are going to be joining them shortly. Norman, tell me, what does this kind of day mean to you, kind of coming and doing this every year?
Well, I feel that I'm doing this for my wife, because she used to sell poppies properly, really, and I used to help her for 20-odd years. And I feel like I'm doing it for her, really. But it is nice to think that everybody appreciate what we did for being in the forces. And fortunately, there was no war on when I was there, but there could have been.
But tell me about your service, because you got sent out to the Far East, didn't you?
Yes. I just got engaged because I didn't think I was going to get called up, but then I did.
So, because if we can see on your jacket here, you've got 1 medal for national service and 1 for that Hong Kong medal for that campaign. What was that experience like, being, serving your country and and being part of that? Was there a sense of camaraderie maybe that you get kind of coming back to this event today?
Well, to be honest, I was 18 years old and I was very excited about going. It was an adventure to me, and I thought, I'm really looking forward to this. I felt sorry for my fiancée I'd left behind, but she sent me a food parcel every week.
And Cheryl, tell us about your service and how you ended up in the forces.
I joined the Navy in 1972, so I was a Jenny Wren, I suppose. And like Norman, I was so excited because in those days it was classed as travel.
Yeah,
we didn't really travel anywhere. I'd never been on a train on my own, so joining the Navy was like going overseas, even though it was like Cornwall that I went to. But I had the super time. I was based at HMS Seahawk, HMS Dauntless, where I did my training, and HMS Daedalus. They're all, I think Seahawk's still open, Daedalus is not. But when I was at Culdrose, I was probably one of the first ladies to be invited, or Wrens, to be invited on board HMS Salisbury, which is a Royal Navy frigate warship, to test to see how women got on board with men. And back in those days, there was no women because it was classed as...
Was unlucky.
Unlucky, so it took another 20 years.
And what was that experience like? Because essentially, I guess breaking that glass ceiling and serving your country in that equal way.
Well, it felt absolutely amazing. It's a memory that has stayed with me and brought back because of meeting veterans. You forget a lot. You actually forget a lot when you leave the services. So coming to events like this brings it all back to the forwards of how brilliant a team that we all are when we served, you know. So it was fantastic. And being on board HMS Salisbury back in the day, with only about 4 of us going on board, it was quite exciting. I think I provided entertainment for the day because they didn't give us proper uniforms, so we had to go in our number 1 uniforms and going downstairs, which are like this, and the Matlows looking up. I think there was a bit of a giggle going on there.
And no, you're laughing just listening to the story. Is there a moment that you think back to that kind of sums up your service, that was maybe a favourite moment for you when you were out there?
Well, we used to have Communist Day and the I can't think what the other one was. My brain's going a bit dead now. But we was keeping the peace with pickaxe handles, would you believe?
Wow.
Yeah, and we used to put the fear of God into the small Chinese people. And just all these things.
But I mean, in terms of kind of that experience, I suppose, you know, going down to the seaside today, how much are you looking forward to it? Because you got the weather for it today.
Yes, it's a wonderful experience, and I feel so glad that we're being appreciated at last.
All right.
Yeah,
Thank you
and it's very enjoyable.
All right, Norman and Cheryl, thank you so much for telling us a little bit about your service and being with us today. Of course, we are setting off very, very shortly, imminently, to go down to the seaside. So join us a little bit, hopefully later this hour. We'll be well on the way for those fish and chips.
Oh, Jack, thank you so much for bringing that. GB News' national reporter Jack Carson there for us. A brilliant service and sacrifice, and yet they talk about it in such a positive way. It's
really do.
Incredible.
That generation was made of stern stuff.
Absolutely.
They really were.
Well, thank you all for your service.
Absolutely. Now up next, this time next week, we will have a new Prime Minister. His name is Andy Burnham. What's going to be the legacy of Sir Keir Starmer? Massive landslide just 2 years ago, out in his ear. We're going through that more with Mr. Kevin Maguire, my sparring partner on podcast, and Sarah Vine from the Mail. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News. There they are, smiling.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions, but every Friday night at 9 p.m. you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome to Free Speech Nation with me, Josh Howard. This is the show where each week we see what's happening in the world of culture, current affairs and politics.
First we'll say, welcome to the UK. Oh, thank you.
And we're not afraid to use our free speech so that you can use yours.
It's not controversial in the slightest to anyone who hasn't lost their mind.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights at 7 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's almost 24 minutes past 11. This is Britain's Newsroom, live across the UK with Andrew Pearce and Bethany Elsey.
Panel again, Kevin Maguire, co-host of Pearce and Maguire podcast. You can have a listen if you haven't heard it before. I obviously run Rings Around Maguire, as you'd expect. And my colleague on the Daily Mail, Sarah Vine. Sarah,
is it called Pearce and Maguire or Maguire and Pearce?
No, Pearce and Maguire, obviously. And not alphabetical.
PM Prime Minister rather than MP.
Yeah.
I'm glad I'm between these two.
So there was a lot of talk in the Commons yesterday about MP security on the back of the death of Anne Widdecombe. As you know, I was mates with her for 30 years. It's all too awful for words. You were married to not just a prominent MP, a very prominent MP, the man who killed David Amess, since they massacred David Amess in his constituency surgery. Tell us about him.
Well, he also his primary target had actually been my ex-husband Michael Gove, and it was his first choice of person to kill. And he had been when the police when he was arrested after the awful David Amess murder. They found that he had. He'd been outside our house on numerous occasions in the mornings, and also outside my office on one occasion. So he'd obviously been stalking, or watching, or trying to work out what best time to strike would be. I mean, at that time, Michael didn't have close protection. So there's a difference between, so all MPs, if they want it, can have home protection. So so they'd come to the security team at Westminster come to our house and said, oh no, you can't have this window, and you can't, your house is basically a leaky bucket, and anyone could get in. So they replaced some windows, and they put in a proper front door that had sort of lots of things on it, and panic alarms and all of that kind of stuff. So if there'd been an intruder, we could have pressed a button. But close protection is different. That's when you're followed around by two men, and you get, all of that, and you get a driver who's trained to do evasive manoeuvres and all that kind of stuff. But Michael had, towards the end, he had multiple threats because at one point we had our address written on a wall in Northern Ireland. Oh, no. So this awful thing with Anne is that. You can't hide. It's very difficult now with the internet to have any privacy at all about where you live. And that's so this guy had found out where we lived, and he'd come to the house, and he was. Well,
you had young children.
And we had, exactly. So he could. I mean, I sort of had visions of. Afterwards, I was quite shaken by it because I thought, well, what if he had tried to attack on the school run or something like that? That would have been really scary. But anyway. Very luckily, nothing happened. So, and also I found it very upsetting that what happened to David Amess happened to David Amess. It was the same guy. It was all just.
Kevin, it's so difficult because MPs have to be out there. They have to be accessible to the voter. And you can't wrap them in cotton wool, but we've now seen 3 MPs murdered essentially in 10 years.
And councillors too, because councillors are very much in communities, and some of them have to deal with abuse they should never experience. But it is, and also...
Bernard Jenkins pointed out in the Victoria MP yesterday in the House, statistically more likely to be killed as an MP now than you remember the armed forces or the police.
That's
is that
quite...
Right?
Yeah.
That's quite frightening.
650 MPs, 3 murdered in 10 years.
There's been 4 murdered during Northern Ireland. Spencer Perceval was a Prime Minister assassinated in 1812, or only one, It is, how do you deal with it? And then you have MPs, and of course they all do get offered security. It's not true security isn't offered, they all get it. We read now in the Eye that Nigel Farage was offered the same security as Kemi Badenoch, driver, bodyguard, car and everything, but declined it because he wants more security you pay for. But what do you do with a former MP like Anne Widdecombe?
Because she would
16 years ago
qualify. And it is just the sort of I do think that we should mention social media here because people say terrible things on the internet. I mean, after Anne was killed, some awful things were said on X in particular.
Wishing her a painful death.
Yes,
all that
that kind of stuff.
It's horrible.
And
Disgusting.
People have to realise that when they say things like that, if the wrong person reads it and believes it, then they can be motivated to go and do that to somebody else. You know what I mean?
Quite agree.
It's you have this idea that these platforms have no responsibility for this kind of stuff is totally wrong, because I think it's one of the things that it's no coincidence in the last 10 years we've had 3 deaths. It is fueling.
And they allow some people to spout really violent threats. Anonymously. Their name's 624 little X and there's a picture of a monkey or a squirrel or something. Others put their name to it. We've seen as a case of somebody up in Aberdeen, a trans woman, celebrating Widdicombe's death, which is awful.
Yes, saying
it's just horrible. I disagreed with her on everything. I didn't know her as well as you, but I did a lot of TV with her, and I disagreed with her on gay rights, on abortion, on trade unions, Brexit, Thatcher. In fact, on GBNews, she was shouting, "Pathetic! You're pathetic!" when we were having an argument about Thatcher's legacy. But I liked her because she was very kindly, she was very generous, she was very funny.
She's a very decent woman.
Yeah, she was a kind of bundle of contradictions like most of us. But how you could celebrate the death of a 78-year-old woman when you hope she's had a heart attack or a brain hemorrhage in a chair, and you hope it's all quick and painless, and then you find out she's been brutally murdered. How you could take any joy or satisfaction in that is beyond me. And then that makes you part of the problem.
Yeah, absolutely. And the idea that just because you disagree with someone politically that they sort of deserve to die, which seems to be
so extreme.
And it's just madness. I mean, this is why the world is in flames, because people just cannot see, they can't accept that somebody else might have a different view from them.
I think this is another reason why social media can be so dangerous and divisive, because people only follow people who they agree with. And there's a bubble, isn't there?
The algorithm is specifically designed by the social media companies to feed you more of the rage baiting, so that you get more and more wound up. And if you're a bit, if you've got mental health problems and you're just being fed stuff that's just...
Fraser Nelson on the Times, he was on the right wing, he's a right-wing person, but he wrote about how on X, Twitter, Elon Musk's algorithm is 150 times more likely to give you something that'll provoke you, that you won't like, than it will that's something you will like. Because it all wants to... I think it's a political project with Musk. He wants everyone fighting everyone else, and he can be a trillionaire unchallenged because he's divided to rule.
We've got just 30 seconds. One word: Starmer's legacy, because this time next week, Kevin, he will not be Prime Minister.
He won't, and he'll be pointing to things. He'll point to Hillsborough. He points to lifting 500,000 kids out of poverty. He had to be dragged kicking and screaming.
One word.
I can do one word.
Blew it.
Flip-flop.
Useless.
Blew it's 2 words, actually, but nevertheless.
We can hyphenate it.
One, I think it's hyphenated.
Yeah, hyphenate. So you say blew it, flip-flop, I say useless.
We'll see. It's 2, but I'm chickening out of that one, Andrew. OK.
I never do.
Sandy's never chicken.
I never do. These two have discovered their great Geordie neighbours.
Well, South Shields,
both
we are,
from South Shields, Whiteleys.
Man.
Yeah.
Northeastern's taken over.
Yeah.
OK, Kevin Maguire, Sarah Vine, thank you both very much for joining us. Let's get your 60-second news update with Sam Francis.
Very good morning to you. Just after 11:30, the top story this hour. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood says that the government will look at what security guidance can be given to politicians, including former MPs. That's after the killing of Anne Widdecombe. Counter-terrorism police are now leading the investigation into the death of the former Conservative minister and later Reform spokeswoman. A 28-year-old man has been arrested. The United States has carried out fresh attacks on Iran overnight, just hours after President Trump announced that Washington would reinstate its naval blockade of Iranian ports. Iran, meanwhile, says it's been hitting tankers in the Strait of Hormuz and other targets in Bahrain, a key ally of the US. Here, MPs are set to approve the Hillsborough law, which could create a legal duty for public officials to tell the truth in inquiries and investigations. The legislation had been delayed because of disagreements about how far it requires bodies such as MI5 to comply. The care regulator says that more than a third of adult social care provided by authorities in England are rated as needing improvement. The watchdog says people face very different experiences depending on where they live. Rachel Reeves is expected to say that Britain's economy has beaten the odds in what's likely to be her final significant speech as Chancellor. She'll argue that the UK must maintain market credibility as Andy Burnham prepares to form the next government. And British troops are standing shoulder to shoulder today with French forces in the Bastille Day parade in Paris. Soldiers from the Grenadier Guards are marching through the French capital, while Sir Keir Starmer is also there with other leaders from the so-called Coalition of the Willing. Those are the latest headlines, a full roundup of all the news at midday.
For all the latest from GB News whilst you're on the go, get the GB News app. Scan the QR code now to download or visit gbnews.com/app.
Sam, thank you very much. Now, up at midday, Good Afternoon Britain with Tom and Emily. Hello to you both.
Hello, hello.
What's coming up on the programme?
Lovely to see you both, as always.
These are my principles, and if you don't like them, well, I've got some other principles.
Are you talking about Ed Miliband?
I might be talking about Ed Miliband, and I'm just wondering, given how zealous he's been in the pursuit of net zero regulations for his entire time in government, given that he was the man who steered the Climate Change Act through Parliament in 2008 when he was Climate Change Secretary then as well, given he's made his sort of career over the last decade and a half about all of this stuff, what on earth does he think he's going to get on the other side of the bargain if he becomes Chancellor and ditches some of his most long-standing positions against oil and gas in the North Sea?
It's just embarrassing, isn't it?
It is.
Surely this man cannot be our Chancellor, in charge of the money.
Well, you'd hope so.
There are other options. Him deciding all the priorities.
Yeah, the man who said, you know, I mean, bearing in mind the new Prime Minister says, who cares about the bond markets? You're then going to have this reckless net zero.
Do they know anything about economics, the people running the country? I mean, seriously.
I know.
Seriously, no one's run a business, no one's really employed anyone, no one's even worked in the private sector, some of them.
Although there is an argument, actually, that Ed Miliband, circa 2015, has been basically running the economy in this country since 2017. If you think about the energy price cap, that was brought in by Theresa May, an Ed Miliband policy. If you think about the nationalising of the train lines that began under the last Conservative government, again, an Ed Miliband policy. If you look at a lot of the tax and spend that has been going on, frankly, since about 2017, since about, well, Theresa May got in 17 election, changed tack on economic issues. Actually, like, the way the country has been run for the last 9 or so years has been very much along Ed Miliband's lines.
Also, should Keir Starmer represent England at the World Cup final?
He'll be there like a shot.
He'll be there like a shot. That's his plan.
I don't blame him for that.
Get back just in time to, you know, formally resign and hand over to Andy Burnham.
He's going to milk it for everything it's
worth. Should he be allowed?
Do you know what?
Should
I completely do not blame him.
He's a football fan.
Well, that's because you're out for yourself, Tom, too.
All of the freebies that Keir Starmer has taken over his long and varied political career, I think this one is the most understandable.
More than Taylor Swift tickets
in his
or
final hours as Prime Minister.
And glasses.
And here he is at the Elysee Palace, standing right next to Macron so that he can make sure he's in all the TV.
This is where he's happiest, and this is what he wants to do, isn't it? Sort of run NATO or the UN or something.
Perhaps the most incisive comment before the last general election, when he was asked, I think it was by the Newsagents podcast, what would he prefer, Davos or Parliament? And he said, like a shot, Davos. He didn't even need to think about it. I don't know many other politicians who would give that response.
Well, it just showed he had absolutely no political nous, did he? He'd be much better on the international stage, you know, hobnobbing with these kinds of people.
Thank you and goodbye.
Oh, sorry.
Not you, I mean him.
Oh, thank you and goodbye. I thought I'd run over there. I thought you were telling me to get out of the room.
Do you reckon he's going to get some sort of big UN job like they gave Gordon Brown? I mean, this is what international organisations are for, aren't they? You know, when you stop being... when you fail as a politician in your domestic country, you're given a job in some international institution. Neil Kinnock was given European Commissioner.
He was. Peter Mandelson, EU
Peter
Commissioner.
Mandelson, of course.
Nicola Sturgeon thought she was going to get a big job at the UN. Whoops, that went well.
That did. And now Keir Starmer's genuinely been talking behind closed doors, apparently, about getting a NATO job.
Yes.
No chance.
Exactly.
Could you believe that?
That's what he wants, that sort of thing,
when
right?
you consider what the last British NATO General Secretary, Lord Robertson, said about his defence investment plan, not a chance.
Even the defence investment plan that we currently have going through, that it has a £5 billion black hole in it, even if that black hole is filled, and it likely will with more tax rises, that's still insufficient compared to what the MOD was asking for.
May I also say we've got a little silly one today. There's a new report on multitasking, men and women versus each other. Well, apparently, we all multitask the same, but there's a reason why men appear to not be able to do it, and we'll reveal that. It's something that Tom is guilty of.
Well, that's all to come on Good Afternoon Britain with Tom and Emily. But up next, as Tom just mentioned, Energy Secretary Ed Miliband, the champion of renewable energy, is now set to back North Sea oil, as it might get him the keys to number 11.
This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News.
Hello again, very good day to you. I'm here with your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. Through the rest of today, any of that low cloud that's been around this morning, that's going to burn away, leaving lots of hot, sunny weather around for many of us, all due to high pressure sitting just to the north of the UK. This high is bringing a bit of an easterly flow in from the North Sea, which means some North Sea coastal parts will have low cloud lingering here, and there will be a bit of a breeze around, which will take the edge of those high temperatures. But with all that sunshine around, temperatures are going to rise. They're still way above average. We're looking at temperatures peaking in the low 30s for the 10th day running across some southern areas. Further north and east, a little bit fresher, more comfortable around those North Sea coastal parts with that cloud and that breeze. Into this evening, and well, it's a fine end to the day across much of Scotland. Still just a bit of cloud affecting, well, the Northern Isles and also some eastern coastal parts, but most places having lots of sunshine through the evening. A similar story across Northern Ireland and the bulk of England and Wales, always just down those eastern coastal parts where there will be a bit more cloud. A bit of cloud across parts of South Wales and maybe southern England, and also across the southwest. Watch out. There's potentially going to be 1 or 2 showers developing. They could be a bit on the heavy side, but only a small chance of that actually occurring. Overnight, similar to last night, we will see that low cloud in the east spreading a bit further inland, pushing further west and southwestwards, but southern and western areas staying with the clear skies. And it is going to be another warm night. Temperatures for many holding up in the mid to high teens Celsius. Some parts of Scotland, though, could drop into single figures. And then, in many respects, tomorrow is looking very similar to today, really. Any low cloud for most of us will burn away, turning largely sunny by the afternoon. Just some of that low cloud lingering around North Sea coastal parts. Otherwise, yes, it is going to be hot once again. Temperatures getting into the low 30s towards the south. A fair few degrees fresher than this towards the north and east.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5.
You got me. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand.
Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News.
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
As soon as it hits 11 and the headlines come in,
Late Edition brings you the breaking news from all the front pages.
because the news is going to happen.
So get a head start today.
Patrick Christie's tonight, Late Edition.
Alex Armstrong tonight, Late Edition. From 11 o'clock every night.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
It's 11:42. This is Britain's Newsroom on GB News with Andrew Pearce and Bethany Elsey.
Well, who'd have thought it? The Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, who's also the Net Zero Secretary, about to do a screeching U-turn and give North Sea the green light. 2 major gas and oil fields he could now licence to start drilling because he wants to become Chancellor of the Exchequer.
Well, GB News' political editor Christopher Hope joins us now from Downing Street. This is a huge U-turn, isn't it, Chris?
Yeah, Bethany, if it happens, I mean, I read this as the last throes of a desperate man
trying to be the Chancellor, and I don't think he will be the Chancellor a week on Monday. I'm hearing from the chatter here today in Westminster is it will not be Ed Miliband as Chancellor, it'll be somebody else, maybe Shabana Mahmood, maybe John Healey, the former Defence Secretary, of course. It could be Pat McFadden, the Benefits Secretary, but I don't think it's going to be Ed Miliband. That kind of briefing you're seeing in today's papers is that, for me, the last attempt by a desperate man to try and get that job. He's talking, of course, about the jackdaw and the Rosebank fields in the North Sea, the treasure under the North Sea, as Donald Trump talks about, the gas fields. We are told that it would make no difference by Keir Starmer's government to drill those fields because we are pegged to the global gas price. Some would say, though, that frankly, drilling for oil and gas near the UK coast would be better for the environment than shipping in LNG containers from the Gulf, etc. That is the argument. I think Ed Miliband has lost that. I don't think, frankly, he's going to be made Chancellor a week on Monday.
And Chris, also on that, it's fuel security. And the other thing is, if we did develop these two oil fields, gas fields, Chris, the millions, hundreds of millions of pounds in tax revenue it would generate for the hard-pressed exchequer. It's a no-brainer, isn't it?
Well, of course, and it's also a big job story because the big problem Labour has in the north of Scotland, I should say, is the lack of the jobs that's draining away from Aberdeen. That's why the Tories push so hard on oil and gas. That's why they won the Aberdeen South by-election. There are electoral issues here. Jobs want them. The union, the GMB union, has deep concerns about Labour's attachment to this net zero project, driven by that man, Ed Miliband. So, yeah, I'm going to put my hat in the ring and say he won't be made the Chancellor a week Monday. Today's briefing about the Jackdaw Rosebank fields, an attempt to hold on to that. Of course, today in Westminster, everyone is still talking respectfully, sadly, about Anne Widdecombe, of course, the murdered Reform UK immigration and justice spokesman last week. Now we're expecting Nigel Farage to meet with the head of RAVEC, which is this Royal and VIP Executive Committee in the Home Office. They'll meet them hopefully at some point soon and discuss the need for greater protection. But the idea, this concern about MP safety, has not gone far away from Westminster today.
All right, Chris, that's Christopher Hobart, political editor there in Downing Street. Superintendent has the flag of St George in very many places. Tell that to that council up in Chester.
He said it could be the former Defence Secretary John Healey as Chancellor.
There has been speculation about that.
If it is, maybe he can put some more money in defence.
Well, he would almost certainly want money on defence, and that would be the deal if he's going to be Chancellor. That would be a very significant political move by Andy Burnham if he does that.
Shall we have a look at the European forecast?
I think we should. It's probably hotter. It's probably hotter here.
You're looking happy.
Well, the forecast looks good.
So you've sorted the travel insurance then?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Whilst we've been talking about heat across the UK for a while, we've been talking about heat across parts of Europe for even longer, and the exceptionally hot spell does look set to continue. It's more across parts of France, but also pushing into eastern Spain, where we're seeing the very high temperatures compared to average. But even further south, well, here it is pretty hot, and temperatures for parts of Italy getting into the high 30s or low 40s. With all that, lots of sunshine, but do watch out for a bit of showery rain. Bye-bye.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations Forecast.
Good afternoon, Britain. Weekdays from midday.
Yeah, Cameron, Miriam, it's certainly feeling hot here today, 30 degrees, and it's only going to get hotter, of course, across the country. Many people feeling the heat as well. Those red weather warnings for extreme heat in place, saying that this heat could even cause a risk to life, urging people to take precautions. But spare a thought for people working in this heat, particularly those in kitchens. We can't come to the beach without a fish and chip shop. This is the Modern World Fish and Chip Shop in Brighton, and Ibram runs it. Ibram, just how hot is it inside your kitchen today?
It's an absolute scorcher, actually. It's okay. We're just about coping. We're taking precautions. We reduced one fry from 2 fries. We're down to 1. There's not much sales in food at the moment. It's mostly people trying to keep hydrated. Waters, soft drinks, ice creams, beers.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
And the reason why Alex's head is a little bit sore this morning is because we are Trick Award winners.
Yes.
Again. For the 4th year in a row. We're absolutely delighted, aren't we? We're buzzing with this.
We are. And, yeah, I need some more sleep.
Listen to that voice. You sound like Orson Welles.
Is that a good thing about it? Hey, everybody. Got a very
Alex went
sultry voice today.
Yeah, you sound good. You sound good.
Okay,
but you went for celebratory drinks last night, didn't you?
Yeah, you could put it that way.
Yeah.
You could put it celebratory
How's the
drinks.
head this morning?
Yeah, I think that the hangover's coming. Let's put it that way. Hangover is still due.
Oh, there you are. Look, there we are. GB News Breakfast winner. So it was in the news category yesterday, and we are absolutely delighted that you chose us because it is voted for by you.
GB News, the People's Channel. GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Well, that is the question. Good morning to you both. It is very hot. Right now it's 25 degrees. Ordinarily, it might be this temperature about midday, but no, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. It's 25 degrees and temperatures set to soar throughout the day into the mid-30s. If it gets higher than 35.1 degree today, then today will be the hottest day of the year. Many people forecasting that we could reach that threshold today. So that's one to look out for. But as you can see, many people keeping cool today. Somebody's here in the water. We've got people out to sea swimming as well, and many on the shoreline enjoying this hot weather, including John here I can speak to now. John, thanks for joining us this morning on GB News. Have you been in the sea yet? How are you keeping cool?
Yeah, I went in the sea. We were down about 7 o'clock this morning. Literally dived straight in.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Welcome back. There's just 10 minutes left on the programme, but plenty more still to come. Each year, the Taxi Charity for Military Veterans dedicates a day for London licensed cab drivers to bring veterans on a day out to the coast. And they're en route. GB News' national reporter Jack Carson joins us live from Surrey. Oh, you're in a cab. Are you excited?
We are. We're in a black... Oh, I'm so excited. The sun is shining. We're on our way down to Worthing for some fish and chips and some entertainment. I'm delighted to introduce you to who we've got in the cab with me. We have got Robbie Hall, Kay Gladden-Thorpe and Betty with us. Of course, people will recognise Betty from a couple of hours ago, who we've jumped in our cab with. She can't escape us. Now, Robbie, I'm going to come to you first. Tell us a little bit about your service.
I joined December 1940, and I was demobbed in the end of November 1945. So I did 5 years in the Women's Auxiliary.
We're having a bit of problem with the technology
what a shame.
there, which is a shame, because that's Jack Carson with the taxi charity taking some veterans. They're going to have a very nice fish and chip lunch in Worthing in Sussex. Of course, it's the taxi charity for military veterans. They do this every year. In fact, they've been doing this since, I think, 1948.
Incredible.
They are an incredible charity. We love this charity, and it's a lovely day out. It's not just that the veterans get a day out, they're together.
Yeah.
And they can share experiences, and as one of our guests was saying earlier, you forget some stuff, then you start talking to other veterans, and it all comes back.
Absolutely. And it's an incredible service. This is just a small part of giving back to them. But of course, Jack is in a cab en route to the coast now with 3 veterans. And
we are going to get to him in a moment.
Because they're en route, the signal is a bit choppy, so apologies that we couldn't bring that to you. But what an incredible charity.
Yeah, it's great. And I was at a garden party at the Palace a few weeks ago to support a charity called The Not Forgotten, and that supports military veterans. And so many of the people who were there at the Palace were there because the taxis had taken them there.
Really?
Because some of them are very old and infirm, and they're not very good on tubes and trains, and they don't have much money, because we don't look after veterans the way we should, sadly. And so lots of them have been brought by the taxis, and they were being taken back. And that's the taxi drivers. Not only is it their petrol and their time, but when it's their time, that means they're not earning any money, because they're self-employed.
Yeah.
So they're a terrific charity.
If you have stories of perhaps yourself as a former service personnel or current, please send them in to us, and we can try and share them on programmes throughout the day.
And I'm sure we're going to get Jack back, but it might be in the next programme coming up, because Jack's on his way. I hope he's not going to eat all the fish and chips himself. No.
I fancy it now.
Fish and chips. Sounds very good. Well, that's it from Britain's Newsroom. Up next, it's Good Afternoon Britain with Tom and Emily, myself and Bethany. We're going to see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Is Ed Miliband preparing to throw away his principles to get the keys to number 11 Downing Street? And what would he do if he had those keys? If he was one step away from being Prime Minister? Goodness me. Well, it looks like he's performing the action to get him there.
Yeah, absolutely. A completely U-turning on his net zero credentials, perhaps. But also, Keir Starmer, should he be allowed to go to the World Cup final if England are in that match? He certainly wants to.
Expect warm spells with the odd rude interruption. Boxed Boiler sponsors the weather on GB News.
Good morning. It's time for your GB News weather forecast from the Met Office. And now it is going to be another mostly sunny and hot day for many of us, even though at the moment there's actually quite a bit of cloud around. That cloud has come in from the east overnight, but it is generally going to break up and burn away as we go through this morning. Just some lingering low cloud towards some North Sea coastal parts. Lots of sunshine then by the afternoon, and in that sunshine, well, it's going to feel pretty hot indeed. Temperatures generally ranging from highs in the very high 20s, possibly low 30s towards the south, to the high teens, low 20s towards the north. There is still a bit of a breeze,